Do you see any political reason why the Queen at that time was so generous to you, suddenly appearing?
Many people have thought about that. But you know, people have said that she was intrigued by me. Another woman in a situation. She was in a situation where there were very few women doing what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
She was in a world of men ruling as well. And we've had a meeting of the minds as spirit, I suppose, as much as anything else. People have guessed that.
Back in the back, outside.
I'm curious with you speaking Irish and your dialect and her English. When the two queens met, how did you communicate successfully?
How did these two queens, since neither of them spoke their vernacular language, manage to communicate?
We spoke in Latin, for I was educated in Latin, as was she. I do not speak the English. It is the magic of your place that allows you to understand what I say.
Another Chautauqua first. Over here, question.
You mentioned your education. Where were you educated?
Where was she educated?
My father endowed the Abbey of Murrisk at Clew Bay, and I was educated at the Abbey with the other Irish students. It was unusual for a girl to receive such advanced education, but my father thought it was important for me to have it, and so I went to the Abbey of Murrisk.
Yes, down here.
For the record, which queen was it of England?
Queen Elizabeth. It was the only Elizabeth I knew.
One final question of this wild Irish woman. Yes, here.
You mentioned a brother.
How
How many siblings did you have?
many other siblings did you have in your family?
Well, the one that lived with me was Donal of the Pipes. He was quite a fine musician, I can tell you. But there were others, but I didn't know how many. My father was a busy boy. Donal lived with us, though. He was the only one to live with us.
And now, at the magic moment of Chautauqua, we step back from this impersonation, and I present to you the scholar performer that stands behind this presentation of Grace O Malley, Karen Vuranch. Karen. You planning to remove any article?
I'm not going to. I'm so taped and pinned together, it's not going to be possible.
So we're going to stay dressed as we are. Karen
I'd like to move this, but I can't.
is an incredibly skilled traditional storyteller. She has even traveled with 33 other storytellers at the invitation of the Chinese government in 2002 to do a storytelling exchange with a storytelling village in China. She also has toured Wales and England 5 different times on storytelling junkets, yes. And she's a writer as well. Her academic training is her master's degree in humanities from the West Virginia Graduate College, and she teaches now in speech and theater at Concord College, or University.
Yes, we're university this year.
But as you can tell, she is a West Virginian of many, many parts, and we're delighted to have her back again in this Chautauqua. The first time I met Karen, she and I were doing the Ohio Civil War Chautauqua, and she does an extraordinary one. What's the name of that?
Edmund Seeley, who was a soldier in the Civil War.
Can you believe that? Disguised as a man, so she always picks these really interesting women. So it is your turn now to ask Karen about perhaps matters that Grace O Malley was a bit reluctant or unable to answer, and your questions.
Let me respond to this woman. Walking the plank was not something that was done in those days. When we think of pirates so often, we think of the 18th century pirates that Johnny Depp has made so famous. But walking the plank became a much more common practice later on. It was not something that pirates of Grace's day did much.
So, questions to Karen about other matters. Yes, over here, please.
I was very impressed with your
I was very
knife.
impressed with the skill of your knife. Would you like to explain this?
This is called a dussock. And it's been researched. A friend of mine who's a blacksmith, I can't do it without the Irish accent, I'm sorry. A friend of mine who's a blacksmith, Frank Hitchcock, researched them for a Renaissance fair that we're involved with back home in West Virginia. And this is a typical 16th century knife. So this is, well, I'm just within rehearsals of, I don't use it anywhere else. My husband will attest to that, I promise.
She seemed to be such a successful, bloodthirsty fighter. Were there special training routines or anything like that her father put her through?
I'm sure he did. And of course, muskets did not come to Ireland, muskets and gunfire, until that Battle of Kinsale.
Oh, okay.
So they were all fighting still by hand in hand-to-hand combat with axes and all. And she probably would have used a knife more than she would have had a battle axe. So probably.
A question here.
What part of West Virginia are you from?
What part of West Virginia am I from? I live in southern West Virginia, Fayetteville. We are the place where all the whitewater rafting is, and if you've seen it's the largest single arch span bridge in the world where people parachute off every year. That's where I live. I don't jump.
Over here, another question.
Is it appropriate to ask,
Do you have a story to tell us about your China story?
I have a lot. There's lots of stories to tell. It was fabulous. China has villages that keep alive certain traditions. There are pottery villages and weaving villages, and there is a storytelling village. And it actually had just come to the attention of the Chinese government in about 1987. They didn't even realize it. There are 1,600 people there, and 900 think of themselves as being storytellers. The village hall is a storytelling hall, but it's in the North China Plains, and they don't speak Mandarin. And our interpreters all spoke Mandarin. So we had to have representatives of the Chinese government there. You must understand, everyone who's about 20 and younger speaks English very well, but everyone over 25 or so does not speak any English because of all the Mao Zedong, closed curtain stuff. So we had people from the government there. The storyteller would tell their story to a Ministry of Culture person who would translate it to Mandarin, who would translate it to English, and then we would have to go back the same way. But there were always 20 or 30 people in the doorway listening, and there would be the storyteller would say something. There would be this lively discussion, and our interpreter would turn to us and say, "The man got on the horse." And we knew we missed something. We weren't sure what.
So do you hope to go back again then, Karen?
Do I hope to go back to China? I did love China. One of my characters is Pearl Buck, who lived in China for 40 years. And that's who I did in Tulsa 3 years ago. I hope so. I would love to go back. I don't know if I'll be able to go back or not, but I would love to.